with CPC Bodybuilding, the home of men's classic physique. So we had a huge weekend in classic physique this past weekend. 3 pro shows, 1 pro qualifier, and 3 new Olympia qualifications. So we had a lot going on this weekend. I'm going to give you guys all of the results and then look ahead to next weekend to give you guys what to expect coming up in classic physique for next weekend. So let's get right into it. But before we do, make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for the algorithm. Check me out on Instagram as well. My tag is CPC Bodybuilding. And if you guys are looking for supplements, I work with Evogen Nutrition. Use code CPC at checkout. You might still be able to catch that 4th of July sale depending on when this goes up. So use that code. It supports me and gives you a discount on the best supplements. So without further ado, let's start the wrap up this week in classic physique. So the biggest show of the weekend here in the United States was the Orlando Pro, and Osmar Alanis of Mexico ended up taking that show. Brought tremendous condition. He has great structure as well. He was my dark horse heading into this show. I had him in my top 5, but I did not have him winning, and he came out and just absolutely won this show. He took it. So I really got to commend Osmar on a fantastic showing. It was his best look yet. So Osmar is going to be making his Olympia debut this year, and he won this show with a perfect score. So a really, really spectacular result here. Osmar, again, debuting at the Olympia this year. He was battling it out with Andre Oliveira of Brazil. This was Andre's second pro show and his second of the American tour this year. So Andre placed 4th in his pro debut at the Indy Pro, and then followed it up with a spectacular 2nd place finish here at the Orlando Pro. Now, in the initial comparisons, which we'll get to later, I thought it was a really interesting display between he and Osmar. I think Andre brings great structure. He looked a little bit bigger than Osmar, but Osmar might have beat him on the condition side of things in the detail and the muscle maturity. So we'll get into those comparisons here in a bit. In 3rd place, we had Tyler Johnson. So Tyler was going for his 3rd consecutive win. Tyler won the Body V1 Pro, the Indy Pro, and was going for a 3rd win here in the United States. But I don't think he was quite as hard and full as he was in the previous 2 shows. I think this look was probably, it's really hard to tell because Body B1's lighting wasn't great, but I think this was probably closer to that look than it was the Indy look. The Indy look was untouchable. He was clearly the winner in that show. So I think Tyler is going to have an awesome Olympia this year. He's got very, very high goals, and I hope to see him right there accomplishing them. And his pro debut, our next guy out of Australia is Zach Smith. So Zach was a guy that I had here in this top 4 going into the show, just knowing how good his structure is. He's very complete, really tall guy too. Definitely stood out. One of the tallest guys in this show. So Zach has great structure. You can see just very proportionate everywhere. Even for a big guy, he has really good legs too. Great detail throughout the quads. He's got good width in the lats. So I think Zach is going to actually go back, make a few adjustments, and then come back for the Texas Pro here in about 5 weeks. So a fantastic pro debut for Zach Smith here. Jared Keys in 5th place. Jared just continues to get better. His condition was probably the best that I've seen it in recent memory. Also, the combination of fullness and roundness that he was able to achieve with that condition is something that I don't think we've seen from Jared before, and I really like this look. He's going to continue to make some refinements and probably try some things with the peak and go to Atlanta this upcoming week. So another top 5 for Jared Keys. Toto Zhang, the lone 212 and classic crossover that I can think of, at least at the moment. He was in 6th place here. Toto packs a lot of muscle onto his frame. He's just not a very big guy, and this had really, really big guys. He did get beat by Jared. Jared's about, similar height. I think Jared might be a little taller, but uh, a lot of these guys were just wider than Toto was. Toto can hang out with anybody in terms of density. So great physique. In seventh, we had Mike Riley. This was a big improvement from his pro debut at Toronto. I know Mike was aiming for a much better finish here, and I really like Mike's shape. His condition's always on point, and I think he went for a fuller look here, and it really paid off. Mike definitely stepped up to the plate and knocked this one out of the park. He was, I want to say, like somewhere around 15 at Toronto, moving up to seventh here at Orlando, which is fantastic for Mike. He's got superb structure and super tall guy. He's just got to fill out more. In eighth place, we had Bassam Ashuri, another guy who improved on his last showing. So this was Bassam's second pro show. And at the Body B1, he finished in last place. So an eighth place here compared to a last place at Body B1, which this was a deeper show too. So I do have to commend Bassam on making some good adjustments. He pushed harder with the condition, and it showed here. In ninth place, we had Jordan Strickland in his pro debut. A taller guy, really good structure. I think what he has to really work on is just bringing more condition. If he comes in more peeled, you can see that the lines aren't quite as crisp in the quads. They're there and you can see them, but they're not quite dug out as much as they should be. And I think probably the same could be said for like the biceps there and perhaps the midsection. It's like everything, you can see the lines and they're there, but they're not dug out, which to me, what that says is that's about 3 to 4 more weeks of dieting. Although, it was good enough for ninth in his pro debut. This guy has tremendous potential, and I think he could do very well and could be a first call out guy, pending that he makes some conditioning adjustments. So ninth for Jordan Strickland in his pro debut. And in 10th, we had Carlos Pinto, just crazy shredded, really superb arms, legs, just a great showing for Carlos. Another top 10 for him this year. So that was the Orlando Pro results. I want to get into the final call out. So our first call out in this show, we had Jared Keys, Tyler Johnson, Andre Oliveira, Osmar Alanis, Zach Smith, and Toto Zhang. That was our top 6 in the show. They were all in the first call out here. And when we look at these guys, the thing that stands out the most to me, where the top 2 really separate themselves, is their shape. I think these guys, both Andre and Osmar, had the best structure in this show, just the best ratios. So when I talk ratios, the big thing in Classic is you're looking at ratios of shoulders to lats to waist to quads. So, I mean, when we look at this, these guys probably have the biggest lat to waist ratio. They both have just extremely small waists and broad shoulders and big quads as well. So it creates the most hourglass type of effect on the physique. So a lot of people refer to the lat to waist ratio as the V taper. Now, I think there's even more to it. You have to factor in the shoulders and the quads as well into that. It's not just the V taper that matters. And when you factor all of that in, you can see how wide Osmar's quads kick out. Same thing with Andre. They both have tremendous quads. Better quads than probably everybody here, with the exception of maybe Toto. And then just the small waist, the broad shoulders. And both of these guys brought their all-time best. I definitely think Andre came in a little bit more conditioned than he did in Indy. And Osmar was just razor sharp, easily the most conditioned guy in this entire show. And his glutes were just peeled, absolutely striated, pianoing through the hamstrings were there. Back detail was tremendous. I think Osmar really won this show with detail. That's where I was really impressed with him. He was not the biggest guy in this show by any means in terms of muscularity, but he brought the most classic package overall, and that's why Osmar Alanis won this show. So our next showing was the Huanji China Pro. Now, I'm still waiting on scorecards from this show, but the winner of this show was Xiqian Wang out of China. So he had a rough start to the year, started out at the AGP, finishing in sixth place, which I was a bit surprised by, given that he was an Olympian. He won the 2023 AGP and then came out and finished sixth in 2024, which was a bit surprising. But he won this one with the shape. Just looking at him compared to the other three guys, or the other two guys, the guy who finished in second and the guy who finished in third, Xiqian has better shape. And I could tell with the detail in the quads that made a big difference. He looks a little bit more conditioned than those guys as well there throughout the quads. Probably has a little bit more muscle maturity. Those guys look a little bit younger too. And I'm not familiar with them. There's a lot of names in this show who I had no idea who they were, but I knew him. He's been to the Olympia before, and he's going to go back to the Olympia. So a big one here for Xiqian Wang at the Huanji China Pro in his home country. So we'll see Xiqian at the Olympia this year. And the big matchup we had was at the Mr. Big Evolution Pro. We had Stephane Matala of France there on the left, and Vahid Badpe of Iran there on the right. So heading into this show, it was a very interesting matchup. Vahid is top 10 in the world, finished top 10 in the Olympia last year, known to be the most conditioned guy in Classic. In my opinion, I think he brings better condition than Michael DeBoule. That's just the way I see things. But this guy is just inside out, very classic. But Stephane Matala has this density, this roundness, this just quality to his muscle that is so hard to quantify. It's just so crisp too. His muscle just has like this pop to it that a lot of guys don't have. And you can see here just apples and oranges. I think James commented on here. It's like, what do you want with Classic? And I think he nailed it because Vahid has good structure, but when you put him next to Stephane, it is so hard to deny what Stephane brings in terms of structure. Structurally, Stephane wins, in my opinion. In terms of density, Stephane wins. Now, this kind of brings in a lot of questions when it comes to bodybuilding, and it's also so hard to tell in footage. I knew Stephane was in good condition heading into the show, but he didn't look like he was full necessarily heading into this. So he looked a little bit flat in some of these updates, like an hour out from the stage. But when you compare their condition, in this video at least, it looks like Vahid has definitely the upper hand in terms of condition. But Stephane just looks like he's got more muscle and he's a little bit more complete, especially in that side chest. I think that's a landslide for Stephane. He absolutely destroys Vahid in the side chest. But in these other poses, it kind of comes down to like, how conditioned are they and how does that weigh out with how much muscle is on the frame? Because sometimes, guys of differing body fats have better shape because there's more fat right there. It looks like there's more muscle there, but it's actually adipose tissue. I'll be honest, I was wrong here. I didn't line up with the judges. I had Vahid actually winning this just because I thought there was such a gap in condition. But it turns out Stephane, in the judges' eyes, had good enough condition, shape, structure, and fullness to beat Vahid, which I could also see that. I could completely understand that because he looks superb here. It's just standing next to that condition, I figured they would probably go with the condition, which is kind of the direction that European shows tend to lean towards. They go for condition and structure over size and completeness. Sometimes I've seen that happen quite a bit in these European shows, but they actually went with Stephane, so definitely no problem with that. What this says to me is that Stephane is going to be a contender at the Olympia. To be able to knock off Vahid with a unanimous decision, perfect score, that says a lot. So Stephane has put his name into the conversation for that top 10 at the Olympia. And he's silencing a lot of critics. I mean, I didn't pick him to win this show. I'll be honest with you guys. But I'm happy to be wrong. I love seeing guys break through and defeat criticism and really just push the limits. And we saw Stephane's all-time best. He's working with Patrick Tor, so I'm wishing him nothing but the best. And I hope this guy has tons of success because I would love to see him in there with that core group of the top 6 at the Olympia, just to see how he compares, maybe push those guys a little. So Stephane Matala ended up winning the Mr. Big Evolution Pro and punching his ticket to the Olympia. Vahid ended up taking second. And then we had Abdullah Al-Rabia in third place. So our overall scorecard right here. So Abdullah Al-Rabia out of Saudi Arabia took third. Paulo Henrique of Portugal was in. Actually, so Miguel Malamo of Mozambique took fourth place. Paulo Henrique of Portugal took fifth. In sixth place, we had Jakub Kolinek out of the Czech Republic, a very good young classic physique pro, good shape. Dominic Warwatt of Germany in seventh. Eric Rabe of Germany in eighth. Yalal Faidi out of France in ninth place. And then Michel Real of Italy in 10th place. That surprised me a little bit. There were some guys in this lineup who I was really surprised they placed as low as they did. For example, Eduardo Idoc out of Brazil. He was an Olympian last year. To see him in 16th was a bit of a surprise. So that was the Mr. Big Evolution Pro. And our pro qualifier that we had this past weekend was NPC Universe. So we had 8 guys earn their pro cards. In Open Classic Physique, there were a couple of Masters pro cards given out as well. But we'll go through the Open Classic Physique pro cards. So in Class A, this was our winner, Luis Frias, a Dominican athlete. So really good showing from Luis. Joseph Moore finished second in Class A. Class B winner was Arthur Ticianelli out of Brazil. Second place, the American George Ward. In Class C, Evan Davies. Steve Konoval. Steve is a guy that I've ran into recently, seen him at some shows, and I told him he's got the structure. You're going to go pro, and here we go. Steve, congrats, man, if you're watching this on winning your pro card. It was just a matter of if, not when. Class D, Dom Carter, who was the overall champion of Mr. Universe. This guy's structure is just crazy. Towered over everybody, lots of muscle, clean lines, everything you like in Classic. This guy's going to be a force in the pro ranks someday. And then Joe Davis, big shout out to Joe. Joe has been knocking on the door for that pro card for quite some time. This guy's been close, top 5 so many times at national shows, finally broke through, so happy to see Joe get his pro card here. So those were our new IFBB Classic Physique pros at Universe this year. Now, coming up for this weekend, so the weekend of July 12th, 13th, and 14th, we've got 4 Classic Physique shows, guys. These are going to be some really good ones, too. So we'll start out in Europe. So on June 13th, and 14th. So we're going to have the Netherlands Pro. So this is going to be a really good show, I have a feeling. So this is the Euro Muscle Show in the Netherlands, and it's sponsored by ESN, which is a great job. It's a German-based supplement company. And I think we have the pro qualifier there on Saturday, July 13th, and the pro show Sunday, July 14th. So you can see there's 4 pro divisions. Classic Physique is going to be one of those. So this will be on Sunday. I know this is going to bring out a lot of good European pros, so look out for that. And then we've also got another show overseas. We've got the Taiwan Pro, July 12th through the 14th. So I believe the pro show will also be Sunday. This is just bikini and men's classic physique. Some really good classic physique pros I know are jumping into this one. We're going to have a couple of guys that are out of Australia jumping into this one who are really, really good classic pros. So stay tuned for that. Then we've also got the Vancouver Pro. The Vancouver Pro is on Sunday, July 14th. The pro qualifier is the day before. So going to get a new classic physique pro who wins the overall. And then the Sunday Pro Show will feature that winner of the Pro Qualifier, plus a lot of Canada's best. I know we got Kellen Wilson in this show. We've also got, trying to think, it's evading me. We've got Samuel Paquin out of Quebec. So those guys are going to battle it out. I'm sure other top Canadians are going to hop in there, plus some Americans as well. So the Vancouver Pro is going to be Sunday. And then lastly, the main event here in the United States, the Atlanta Pro Show, which is a Lenda Murray Wings of Strength show, an awesome show. I'm really excited to attend this one, guys. I'll be covering this one in person, giving you guys the live updates over on Instagram. So if you guys want those, make sure you go follow me at CPC Bodybuilding. So we got the Atlanta Pro. It's going to be men's classic physique is going to be on Saturday. So Saturday, July 13th is going to be that. So the Atlanta Pro is going to be Saturday, July 13th, at least for the men's classic physique division. So you guys can look out for all those updates there on Saturday. Going to be a good show featuring a lot of really good American pros. And that lineup is going to drop tonight. So make sure you guys give me a follow here on Instagram. My tag is CPC Bodybuilding. I'll be giving you guys all the updates there and dropping those lineups for the shows this evening. Should be later tonight, probably sometime around 9 or 10 Eastern Standard Time. So look out for those. And make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Feed that algorithm. Use my code CPC at evagennutrition.com. And that's going to do it today for this week in Classic Physique. Make sure you guys keep it classic. I'm Brant, signing out. See ya.